This week on NWP, you can't trust anything you hear on this podcast. Except that. And that. And that. And that.
Hey boys and girls, this ninja science lesson's gonna rock your world. Now close your eyes and travel back in time with me and Ninja Brian. It's gonna blow your mind to shit. It was an ordinary day in dinosaur high, but Stegosaurus raised his hand to call for high fives. Tyrannosaurus saw the sand got pissed because his tiny wrist caused his eye to miss, and he was like, fuck this! Oh yeah, oh yeah, it's an old school dinosaur laser fight. Oh yeah, hell yeah, just a classic dinosaur laser fight. It was a futuristic prehistoric throwdown, but it was quiet because in space there was no sound. Did we mention that this took place in space? It did, so shut your face. Also there were robots and sharks.
Hello everyone and welcome to Nerds Without Pants, episode 68. I am Julian, and I'm joined as always by Patrick.
I'm here, I promise.
And the returning champion who is not going to give us the long pause, we have Angelo.
Okay, fine. Hi.
That's the only way I can
You knew I was thinking about it.
I know you were thinking about it, because you're like, I haven't been on in an episode, so I should totally do the long dramatic pause like I always do. Nope, It's not happening, because this is April Fool's.
That's right.
And like, everything's topsy-turvy, and I don't know. Like, we are recording this on April 1st, and it's one of those low-hanging fruit subjects where we're like, oh, yeah, April 1st, we can do an episode about April Fools in video games and stuff. That's easy to do.
Am I the only one who's like old manish and maybe hipstery about April Fools? And it's like, I'm done with this, guys.
No, I think I am done with it too, but I had a lot of fun with it back in the magazine days, and I think that's what we'll, that's kind of where I'm going to be coming at it from.
Yeah.
But, that's neither here nor there. That's our topic for later on in the episode. We, of course, have Consumption Junction. And normally I'd lead off with Patrick or Angelo, but damn it, I played some freaking video games, and it feels pretty good, because I haven't really done that in months, because if you've listened to the show for, recently, I've kind of been struggling with if I even wanted to keep doing this or not. And I finally knuckled down and played some stuff. So I can go anywhere, guys. What do you want to hear? I've got The Order, I've got Final Fantasy 15, I've got Majora's Mask, I've got Monster Hunter, I've got Valiant Hearts. Come at me, what do you want?
Let's start with the Final Fantasy 15 demo, because I want to hear about that.
Okay.
I'm downloading it right now, so.
Coming in hot. Oh, you just spilled the beans.
Oh, I should have waited on that.
We'll get to that, because Angelo's wife and all.
It's awesome.
Yeah, hey, Final Fantasy 15's pretty good. Like, good. And it exists. It's a thing that you can play.
And I'll bet it's gorgeous.
No, Angelo, it is bloody gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, the PlayStation 4 has been pretty impressive, and there have been games where, my jaws dropped, and I mean, The Order, holy crap, like, just a few weeks ago, I played The Order, and I was like, this is the best looking game I've ever seen. And then I played Final Fantasy 15 a couple days ago, and I said, this is the best looking game I've ever seen.
Nice.
And I mean, I'm starting to I wonder, this game was announced 7 years ago, but I still wonder how much of that 7 years was actually game development and how much of it was Tetsuya Nomura just, doing fashion design and coming up with pretty looking trailers, because, they say that the game is still not like, it's only like 60% complete or something like that. But also telling that he's no longer on the project. Yeah, and I really think that it didn't even start into high gear until they took him off the project. And it makes me a little sad to have to say, like, hey, guess what? Like, a Final Fantasy game is good. Because as much as I love Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2, will freely admit that those aren't the shining jewels in the series, and a lot of people would, and I mean, a lot of people would say that 12 wasn't much to write home about either. I thought it was fantastic, but
I like 12.
I do, yeah.
I'll argue for 12.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that HD remaster.
They promised us. They said if 10 and 10.2 did really good,
14's
and now
great.
they're making a second version of 10 and 10.2, so it must have done pretty good.
Right. Well, yeah, and Patrick, like you say, like 14 is great. 11 was great. Lightning Returns, I can't abide that one. But, it's fair to say that a lot of people have fallen off, with reason. And I was worried because the stuff that I'd seen on Final Fantasy 15 didn't thrill me. It seemed like it was going in a full, like, Kingdom Hearts style action RPG thing. And that's not the case. It's actually kind of this weird amalgamation of, like, modern Western RPGs like Dragon Age Inquisition, coupled with what they've already been transitioning towards since Final Fantasy XI, which is kind of that auto battle system.
I would argue since Final Fantasy X, but yeah.
Well, but I think 11 started it, like that was... Because 11 was like, like auto attack stuff and everything like that, and then,
right.
12 was like, oh, well, this is basically like an offline MMO. As far as like the way the battles played
right.
out. It's still doing that thing that I don't really care for that they've been doing recently, where you only control the one character and then the computer does whatever with the other three people. I don't know, and the demo didn't give me a good sense of how much strategy is actually going to be involved in the nuts and bolts of the game. As far as, like, if you can tell them what you want them to do, or, there's definitely, like, a pause menu where you can, like, bring up items and stuff like that. So I thought I was happy to see that. Skills were kind of weird. Everything uses magic points. So, like, defense uses magic points, parrying uses magic points. Noctis can zip around the battlefield, but he can teleport to different, like, anchor points on the environment, or he can just, like, straight up select an enemy from far away, hit a button, and then warp to it and strike it.
He's riding.
Kind of, yeah. He's very zippy. And he's got, like, these ethereal weapons that he kind of generates out of, like, thin air, and they're, they kind of hit all of the standard melee trapping. So you've got your fast and speedy weapon, or your fast and weak weapon, you've got your strong and slow weapon, and everything in between. And all that stuff works pretty well. It's going to take a lot of getting used to as far as, like, getting the parrying down, and I did have some problems with the camera, like, as far as, like, trying to lock on to enemies, or when you would get into tough, like more enclosed spaces, like, the camera would, like, just, like, seem to get hung up in places that was not advantageous to what was going on the screen.
I'm sure that'll get worked out before the game's released, though. That's the kind of stuff you expect in a demo.
Right. Yeah, and that's typically stuff that doesn't, like, fall into place until, like, the 0 hour anyway, from what I understand with game development. But I like what I saw. I mean, there wasn't much, and you don't get any of the car stuff, because it's actually this very convenient part in the story where the car is broken down, and you basically have to go on, like, a Final Fantasy 12 style hunt to get enough gil to repair the car. So the demo involves you, like, tracking down this one-eyed behemoth. And dude, the behemoths in that game, like, live up to their name. Like, the way that they only hinted at them in previous Final Fantasy games, you finally get to see them realized in the way that they were meant to be, where they're just these massive, just beasts that tower over you. And the actual gameplay where you were tracking this enemy, like, it felt like, it felt very organic, not to use, like, a, tried and true buzzword, but, like, the stuff that you would find actually gave you the little breadcrumb trail to find him. And it wasn't like this explicit, like, oh, well, go here and do this. It was like, no, well, you found this, maybe it'll lead you to something else if you keep going in this direction, or look for more clues. And I appreciated that stuff. Like, I ended up, like, finding things a little bit probably out of sequence, but it didn't penalize me for that. And it seemed like this it felt like I was actually tracking this thing through a level. And I like what I saw of the character interactions. There's a little bit of voice acting at the very beginning. There's a little cutscene, and the voice acting is really good. The English voice acting I thought was really good, and the little bit of like stuff as they're just like wandering around. Like, you get the idea that these guys are like really close and they know each other really well. And there's been a rumor that Noctis is gay, and if that's the case, then I think Gladio is probably his guy, because there was a couple little lines of dialogue that made me think, oh, you guys are special friends. Can I just say, because I have to say it, can we just get rid of Tetsuya Nomura and his feathered hair and his fashion stuff, and also his naming conventions, because have you heard the names of these characters?
Well, we can start with Noctis and end with Noctis, because holy crap, what?
No, because Noctis is not the worst name in the bunch.
Go on.
I already mentioned Gladio, but then you also have Ignis, who's kind of the brains of the operation, and then you have Prompto.
No.
His name...
Prompto.
Is Prompto.
His name is really Prompto?
His name is Prompto.
Nobody thought this was a bad idea?
No, because they're Japanese and they just think that like quasi-Latin sounding stuff sounds
cool. Oh.
Is Prompto usually on time?
I get the impression that, well, actually, I don't know if these names are like nicknames or if that's actually what their like birth names are. Like if they're the birth names, that's really sad. But I get the impression that Prompto is kind of like the happy-go-lucky, you just can't help but love him type of character. And he seems to be the cook. Like you go to camp. There's actually like a day-night cycle, and at night you go to camp, and he makes something for the party, and it gives you like stat buffs for the next day.
Why did that instantly make me think of Grandia with the little dinner scenes?
Maybe. I didn't get the impression that there's any like actual like dialogue going on during that stuff, but that could just be like something that's not in the demo, because I think that if there isn't, then they're missing out on a big opportunity for character development.
Or at least at key moments, you know.
Yes. Yeah, probably for that for sure. But yeah, I am a lot more optimistic for that game than I was when they converted it from Versus 13 to Final Fantasy 15. Because when they made that announcement, I was so dejected. I was like, no, please, let's not do this. Let's just cancel Versus 13 and do something different. And I hope that it's different enough and does enough to get like people interested again, because I need a Final Fantasy 16, and it's never, it's weird for them to not have anything planned after this. So this needs to do really well, because I'm worried about Square Enix, guys.
Maybe they're just transitioning. Maybe they don't want to lay all their cards out all of a sudden. They're going a little bit more like it was in the old days, where let's let all the buzz surround the game we're trying to create buzz around before we start talking about the next game on the table.
Maybe. It just feels like it's been so long, because even like when Final Fantasy 9 was announced, like I think when 9 was announced, they were already talking about 10 and 11 at the same time, and
right.
then they did 10, 2, and 12, and I think all of the like Final Fantasy 7 like compilation stuff all at the same time.
Yeah.
So like it was all hitting like all, and then of course the 13 stuff, which was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I know I was still playing 8 when they started talking about 9, and it was obvious that they had already been working on 9 because they had like characters and stuff like art and things like that. So
yeah, and also because 9 was originally going to be a side story. Mm-hmm. So there was also that. I think they didn't intend it to be 9 for a little bit, and they're like, well, no, we'll just. It
was too awesome.
Yeah.
Game is so great.
Yeah, it is. And hopefully 15 will be great as well, because
Yeah.
I don't think it's coming out this year. I really don't.
I've really come to terms with Final Fantasy in that there are, and we mentioned this before, so I don't want to dredge it up too much, but there are plenty of games that are doing what I want a Final Fantasy game to do. Like that are those old school RPG experiences. Heck, that's what Dragon Quest banks on, is that people like the retro thing. I'm not necessarily a big Dragon Quest, but if you want something a little more mature, a little more gritty, that exists too. There's plenty of these games. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Final Fantasy not being that anymore. I will just go there looking for something new, something creative, something fun, and take it whatever it gives me. I'm not looking for Final Fantasy 9 again.
You say that, but have you played Final Fantasy Record Keepers for mobile? Which just came out recently.
Is it on Android?
It might be.
Everyone knows.
Is it free to play?
Yes, and it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on. Final Fantasy Record Keepers?
You relive all your memories.
Yeah, and it's all like gorgeous sprite art, even with like the new characters, and it's an honest to goodness ATB battle system that works. It simplifies it just a little bit for mobile's sake, but the actual battle system is pretty good, and it hits me in all the warm and fuzzies. And for those people who hated Final Fantasy ATB, I'm not one of them because I thought it was great. This gives you tons of gameplay where ATB was definitely more of like a just keep tapping the screen until stuff dies type of thing.
Wow, it's apparently a pretty big app. but I'm downloading it right now, so
Excellent.
I'll let you know.
We'll talk about that in a later episode.
As far as coming out this year, though, Julian, I think that you're probably right. And as far as your recent calls on that, you've been totally right. And I wanted to say kudos to you saying that Zelda wouldn't come out this year because it's already been delayed.
Yeah, I'm surprised that people are surprised at that, because when was the last time a Zelda game shipped in the year that they said it was going to come out? Like,
I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I need to see more of that game before I get really excited about it. They've been saying all the right things, and
Right.
I like what I've seen. But, if it was coming out this year, well, I guess we would have seen it at E3, so there would have been that. But no, I just think that, with this being Nintendo's first HD console, and, Zelda always takes them longer to develop than anything else anyway, because they're so huge.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
And this one does look really huge.
Yeah. And, but I do think that the people who think that it's being delayed until their next system is, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like,
No.
that next system is, like, at least 3 years out. So, well, I'll say at least 2 years out, because the Wii U hasn't been doing well. So, no, it's like, I guess it actually segues really nicely into Majora's Mask, because I bought another Zelda game, guys, and that's kind of a weird thing for me to do, because I'm not, like, the hugest Zelda fan. I haven't played very many of them to completion, but all of the fervor around the 3DS version of Majora's Mask got me really, like, thinking. And, I'm one of those critics who says, like, oh, well, Zelda hasn't done anything interesting or new since Zelda 64, because it's just been kind of, like, retreading on those grounds ever since. But I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't play that one Zelda game that everybody says is, like, the really different one, And I think I discounted it back in the day because I took one look at the character designs, or the character models, and was like, oh, this came out a year after Zelda 64. It's all the same character models. This is just a cash grab. I don't need to play that.
I don't think you were the only one that suspected that, though.
Yeah, at the time, I remember there being a lot of, like, tepid reaction, at least to, like, customers at the store for that one. And over time, it's grown to be, like, one of the more applauded games. I mean, Patrick Klepek was talking about that on the last episode, that, that people have really applauded that one and Link's Awakening for being, like, the kind of the different games in the series. And Link's Awakening is actually my favorite. Well, it used to be my favorite Zelda until Link Between Worlds. But Majora's Mask is really good. Like, yeah. I'm astounded by how good it is, and I haven't had a chance to play it as much as I would have liked. I'm at the first dungeon. I haven't gone into the first dungeon, but I think the way that it handles the 3-day time limit is so clever. And even after, like, the first time that I went through, like, the 3 days, where I was like, oh man, I'm gonna hate this, aren't I? Because this is just gonna become an interminable slog, like, doing this over and over and over. But then, there's just these genius little ways of circumventing things. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because it's not that, as much of a critic as I am of, like, Nintendo in recent years, or the Zelda series, like, it's not that they make bad games. I don't think I can think of a bad Nintendo game. I can think of, like, some games that aren't my cup of tea.
Right.
But they're always super well made, and Majora's Mask is no exception, and it looks so good on the 3DS. Like, that's the way that I want to experience the Nintendo 64 again, because it's really hard to go back to that system.
Yeah. I forgot just how. So here's the weird thing. Like, you play Link's Awakening, Link to the Past. That is actually a 60 frames per second game.
Right.
Then you go to Zelda 64. That is not 60 frames per second. That's not even 30, I don't think. It's pretty chuggy. At least it was from my memory of it. And when I play it on the, I have the disc, the GameCube disc that comes with Majora's Mask, Zelda 64.
Oh yeah, the Master Quest and all that stuff. Yeah.
And I think the emulation on that was pretty spot on, at least as far as that went, because I remember, this is how I remember it. It was kind of chunky like this, so.
Yeah, and on the 3DS, it's just, everything is so crisp and colorful and vibrant, and that's not how I remember the Nintendo 64, because I always remember the Nintendo 64 as being this blurry mess. Like, even like the best looking games, like, I just remember them as being, like, so just muddy and blah. So yeah, I am making the commitment now that I'm going to finish Majora's Mask on the 3DS because I owe it to myself to do so. And they made some really smart decisions in bringing it, in modernizing it. Like, I think the whole Bomber's Notebook, which kind of gives you a really handy way of keeping track of all the different events that can happen on each day, that's not in the original game, and that's, like, super helpful. So just that alone, I think, is a great way. Like, I probably would have gotten frustrated with that game on the Nintendo 64, but I can see myself sticking with it on the 3DS.
We're due for another weird Zelda game, aren't we? I mean, not as far as portables. They got those with, like, Phantom Hourglass and the train game or whatever it was. But, like, I don't know. It just, on the NES, we had Zelda 2, which was, like, the weird one. And then we had Majora's Mask. We're kind of due for another big, weird Zelda game.
I think that this one's just going to be weird, at least for Nintendo at least, because it's going to be open world Zelda, basically. If I'm right about all the things we're seeing and how it's getting delayed, it's probably going to feel like GTA Zelda.
I hope that they take a cue from not only, like, Dark Souls and stuff, but also what they did with A Link Between Worlds and just let you go. Just, like, throw you into the world. Like old school Zelda, like, hey, you don't have shit right now. Like, go ahead and find this cave and find the old man that gives you this wooden sword and go. That's what I want. Like, I want a modern, like, fully 3D, massive world where it's like, no, you know what? We're not telling you anything. Like, just figure it out. That would be so amazing.
I wouldn't mind a little bit of scripting right at the very beginning. Or wait, let me back that up. I don't want any scripting. What I want is tight level design that instructs the character at the beginning. So, the environment will tell you, oh, you should go here. And, oh, look, here's a sword. Cool, I found a sword, And then, like, somehow there's a path. Let me follow the path. That kind of thing. I don't want text boxes popping up every 5 freaking seconds and my sword itself telling me what the percentage of probability is that I need to go to this area of the map. No, don't do that again.
Don't tell me how to save my game.
Oh, gosh, no. Or that I need a break.
Yeah, I mean, and make it to where the dungeons can be defeated with everything that's in the dungeon, so you don't have to rely on your other items, but then be able to use those items in the overworld for other stuff. That way you can really tackle everything in whatever order you want. Which I think that was the great thing about Link Between Worlds, where it was kind of a contrived way of doing it there, where you could just rent the items that you needed. But I think the obvious evolution from that is just make it to where, like, no, you know what, like, if you find Dungeon 4 as the first dungeon, like, it's going to be tougher because the enemies are tougher, but you can, manage if you are skillful, and, like, it'd be really cool to sequence break that game.
Right. But,
or not even have a sequence, for all, is what I'm getting at.
A lot of times what they would do, too, is the tool that you got in a previous dungeon would be necessary to get to the next dungeon.
Right.
So they don't have to even, like, oh, okay, I can't get across this chasm. Oh, I need the hookshot to grab onto that tree over there or something.
Well, yeah, but I would.
Dungeon.
I think I would like to get away from that, where it's like I was saying, like in Zelda 1, it's like you might not happen across Dungeon 1 as your first dungeon. Like there were places where it's like, oh, I don't know where I'm at. Oh, hey, I just found this, and it's level 4 or level 5 or something like that. Like I'd love to see a return to that. I mean, it's been 30 years. There isn't really a Zelda game like that. Like, right. It's the first one and that's it. So
what I'm hearing from you guys is, like, we need a Dark Souls Zelda game, because playing Bloodborne is, like, exactly the way that you're describing it. Like, no narrative at the beginning so much, and it kind of just funnels you in this one direction, and you kind of get it opened up little by little as you gain levels in difficulty. And I don't know, I've heard people talk about how there should be a Dark Souls Zelda game, or a game that's just like Dark Souls, but it's Zelda. And now that I've actually played extensively in that kind of a genre, like, I definitely want that.
Well, I mean, Dark Souls and Bloodborne already are that. I don't think Nintendo needs to do that necessarily, but I don't think it would be hurt for them to be informed by games like that and games like the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm not suggesting that they make this like balls to the wall difficult Zelda game, or make things like, because I know a lot of things with like the Souls games, and maybe Patrick, you can speak to Bloodborne because I know it's your first type of or game of that type, but like I know like they make the stats really obscure, like you don't really know what does what. Like I don't need that level of abstraction in my Zelda game. I would like to see them take some cues from the veracity of the combat and also taking the hand off a little bit. You know, they can guide you a little bit because it's a Nintendo game and that's what Nintendo does, but you know, give the player a little bit more freedom. But Bloodborne kind of, from what I'm hearing, it takes it to maybe an even more extreme than some of the Souls games.
Alright. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My name is Link, y'all. I'm straight out of Hyrule. Been on the force of good since 1986. Old school. I'm bringing you a laid-back summertime jam.
Hold on a minute, Link.
Hey, what's up, old man?
I see that you're embarking on another epic quest. You're gonna use your ocarina to rescue the princess, but you'll need a magic weapon that'll never ever miss. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this!
Oh, thanks, old man. That is really very nice. I can always count on you for help and friendly advice. Though I've never seen a sword of quite that shape or size. Oh, God, that's not a sword. It's your dick in disguise.
Yes, I can lie. I have painted my shrine. Now grab your destiny. If you know what I mean. Wait a minute, Link. Don't leave the cave. Where do you think you're going? This is a great chance to follow. Screw the bells, you're blowing.
Yeah, I didn't think it's like that hard. I just put everything into like strength and vitality and a little bit of other stuff here and there for like endurance or something, and I've kind of been fine with it. It's way easier if you play with a person, and you can only do that if you like ring this bell, and you only can ring the bell a certain amount of times, so you really have to early on make sure that you have like good partners with you, and it's like you can't always get your friend unless you put a password in, so it's like sort of hard to connect to people online, and it's obscure in that way, or it's obscure when you're like trying to figure things out at the beginning, which is like more what I was talking about as far as how Zelda should be, like the level design. Maybe it's a little bit more closed than I think the next Zelda will be, but it does have enough of an open world where there's optional bosses like left and right. There's like optional areas to find, but they're not like so vague where it's like you missed an entire mountain, or like you didn't even have to go to this quarter of the map. Like I feel the next Zelda might be, but I'm not sure how the other games would have been easier, because this one, if you just learn the patterns, and maybe I'm spoiled because of Rogue Legacy, and I felt like that was a really hard game, and I can compare those two like really well together, because they both have this kind of like learn from your death going on, and then put in the coin or the blood that you've gotten at the end of your life, or like get in Bloodborne's case, you have to get it back before you can do that. But if you've gotten to this part where you can't really go to and succeed, then you kind of just go in there, get your blood, and pop out and level yourself up. So it's hard, but it's strategically hard. There's ways to get around like the difficulty and things that you can find in the game that make certain areas a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's funny because it kind of goes back to, I mean, I've only played Demon Souls, but I remember doing some things that we talked about on Rogue Legacy a couple episodes ago where you just kind of cheese some of the enemies, where it's like, oh, if this guy follows me down this staircase, he's just going to fall and die? Okay, I'll do that, because there's no way that I can take him on, like, one-on-one. It makes me wonder how much of the game is designed around that. I'm sure that by now they've worked that into the gameplay, but I wonder about Demon Souls, where did they intend for people to lead that guy over to that staircase and have him just like plummet to his death because he's an idiot, or was that just like, you know, a random happenstance that everybody has to do it at the beginning of the game?
Yeah, and you could kind of do that in Bloodborne. You could get somebody near the edge of a ledge and be like lower than them, where they can't like slash down at you, but you can hit them with your hammer from below until they jump on you. they sometimes will jump off, sometimes will not, depending on what enemy it is. So you kind of just have to know like how the creature can move, and in that way, it's kind of like memorizing their abilities. And it can be easy, but the easier part is when you have a second person and you just let the second person go behind, and attacking from behind is almost always the right thing to do. So like you get your 4 slashes in or something, and then the big creature boss probably will turn around and try to hit that guy. That guy can kite a little bit while you hit him from the back now, and then he just keeps turning back and forth. And sure, he's going to do a devastating attack that does AoE damage very quickly, once or twice or maybe 5 times depending on how hard the boss is. But you can always heal yourself when you like jump away really fast, and there's always time. If you die, it's probably because of you, and that's what I love about the game, because you can strategize with your friend, or a random person that you can't really talk to is a little bit harder, but you can strategize with them regardless, due to the fact that there's kind of a right way to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what I came away with from like the 16 or so hours of Demon Souls that I played, was that it was tough but fair to me. And a lot of times, like if I died, and I didn't really die a ton, like when I was in that time, it was more of like, oh, well, that was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. You know, that's on me. That's not on them. It rarely felt punitive to me. But would you say that it's getting its hooks into you? Like, because I know this, you didn't play the other Souls games, so.
Yeah, I mean, I want to platinum this game. It's probably going to be my first big platinum of the generation, but maybe it's because I'm not burnt out. Maybe it's because it just looks so beautiful. Like Victorian Yarnum looks, just like I would want Victorian London to look. And there's some images in my mind that are just like stuck there. Maybe it's because I played it for like 15 hours straight last weekend, and then slept, and then played it for like 7 more hours. I only played it last weekend though, and I've probably got a good 20 hours in, and I think I got like 30 hours into the game though, because I'm already like at the last place you can get to, and part of that was due to the fact that I was using the bell to call in co-op a lot, because I didn't want to just grind myself needlessly if this is part of the game. But I was able to get through a lot of it really fast, and I'm at this place called the Forgotten Woods now, which is, I think, the last or one of the last places that you have to go to. The thing is, there's like 24 bosses in the game, and I've only beaten like 7 of them maybe, but so many of them are optional. I could probably only beat 14 and be done with the game. I've already beaten some optional ones and gotten these things called chalices that you like make a progressively generated dungeon that has like random like experience and armor and rewards in it that you wouldn't get anywhere else, and you could share them with your friends. This is the thing they've been talking about that makes it like really replayable. So there's probably a ton to do there that I'm going to have to get some random trophy in order to platinum, and I'll probably still have to put a lot of time into it. But I was just thinking last weekend, like, I'm cool with playing this game for the rest of the year, and that's it.
Well, that's probably good, because it seems like there's not going to be much between now and the end of the year to play, because a lot of the stuff got delayed or like into next year. I guess we still got Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Batman, we got Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, see, Metal Gear is another one. I mean, I guess I'm starting to believe that that's going to come out this year, because if Kojima is leaving Konami, then the game's got to be pretty much almost done anyway. So I guess I'm starting to believe, because Metal Gear to me is like Zelda, where it's like that game never ships when it's supposed to. I mean, sorry to keep you waiting is like that's like the takeaway line for the Metal Gear franchise.
Yeah, you got to be sorry that Kojima's leaving though, because I mean, he was gonna do Silent Hill, and I'm not sure if he's gonna do Silent Hills anymore. But what do you think?
I'm kind of, well, if he goes to do something else with video games, then I'm excited for him to leave, because I've wanted him to do other things with video games for a long time. I'm actually, as big a Metal Gear fan as I am, I'm ready for them to either put a bullet in the series or put a bullet in Solid Snake, which I wrote about actually a while ago on Pixelbit, that to me the best successor to the franchise is actually Johnny Sasaki, who is a joke character from Metal Gear Solid 1 all the way until 4, but then in 4 he becomes totally badass and he marries Meryl. And to me that makes a lot of sense for him to like kind of take up the Snake code name. But you know, for me it's like I'm ready for Kojima to do something else.
Wait, back up. Oh, I don't know if I want you to spoil this though. Never mind. Well, whatever happened to Raiden, as far as canon goes? Because I know he's in that offshoot.
Yeah, Raiden.
He's awesome.
Yeah, Raiden's around. You know,
But he wouldn't be able to take over for Snake.
Well, he could, but see, the weird thing about what they did with like the after Metal Gear Solid 4 stuff, and as much as I love Metal Gear Rising, everybody's a cyborg at that point. Like everybody.
I took that more as a guide-in than canon, though. I don't know if that's...
It seems pretty canon.
Just remember, yeah, it just seems like the future. But taking the second Metal Gear, Metal Gear Solid, I would rather think of him as Revengeance, and for that reason, maybe I want to make it more canon than it really is.
Maybe. I mean...
He's just so much cooler.
Yeah, but it definitely seems like he's doing his own thing by that point. So I don't know. I mean, they could totally like have him pick up the moniker, but I think after Rising, like that's such a crazy action game that it would almost feel like a step way backwards to have him start doing stealth again. You know what I mean? And I would like to see it, because the thing about Johnny Sasaki also is that he's fully human. So I think that would be a very interesting thing if they do want to keep going in that future path. Almost like what 2 Human failed to do, which is have this story of someone who decides, no, you know what, I have no implants. Like, I am 100% human, and I'm just going to deal with all of these cyborgs that are much stronger than me and take them on my own level. You know what I mean? Like, I think that'd be interesting. But, to get back to your point, or your question, Patrick, with the Silent Hills thing, I don't know how much Kojima was involved in that. I'm kind of more just concerned about Konami as a whole, as a company, because once Metal Gear Solid 5 is out, like, I don't know what they do from there. Like, because I don't know how much of Silent Hills is a game. And PT was incredible, and the stuff that they've shown of Silent Hills, as far as trailer-wise, is amazing. And I want to see that game, but I just don't know if it's going to be a thing that ever comes out, and that makes me sad. I'd actually tweeted that I think what would, in a perfect world, like, Hideo Kojima and Koji Igarashi, who was the man behind, like, Symphony of the Night, and Keiji Inafune just all, like, decide to, like, go work at Platinum Games and just make awesome action games for the rest of time.
I hope so. I heard he's actually going to make an army of robots, though, to go trick-or-treating for him.
I mean, nothing would surprise me with Hideo Kojima.
April Fools, April Fools.
That was a little weak sauce, my friend.
Gonna weave those in there. Yeah. Well, it got derailed a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we kind of derailed. Well, not derailed, but you know, we've been talking a lot about PS4 stuff, and Angelo.
Mm-hmm.
Just say it. You already let the cat out of the bag, so it's already spoiler country.
I may have gotten a PS4 as a gift, even from my wife.
Well, that's
awesome.
That's where all gifts come from.
Mm-hmm. Now, to be fair, she says she's not getting me anything for the rest of the year, but
somehow I doubt that.
I do too, but I think she's going to stick to, like, maybe not like going all out like she did in the past, because she already went all out with this. So, but yeah, I have a PS4 now.
So real quick, like,
what do you play?
Well, it just arrived today, actually. Like, I was taking it out of the box at 7 o'clock at night, hooking it up, doing the downloads, and the updates and everything. The first thing I did, of course, was when you get your shiny new piece of hardware, you want it to behave like it's 1998. So I downloaded the anniversary theme and made.
Oh yeah, that's what I used to do.
I don't love that theme. John Golson, friend of the show, was showing it to me. Now I don't like the background music for it.
I don't either, but I love the startup.
Yeah, the startup is good because the PS4 doesn't really have a startup, so
No.
It's nice to see.
And the PS1 was like, "Here I am, slap."
Well,
that big
and
loud bass note.
and also for me, like when I see the PS1 startup, like I can still picture in my head, okay, this is when the disc stops, so you pull out the American disc, put the Japanese disc in, let it spin here, then you pull out the Japanese disc, put the American disc in, then you spin it one more time, then you swap it one more time, then you're playing Dragon Ball Z Legends.
Nice. I never did that.
Oh, I was a huge disc swapper. I played so many import games on the PlayStation. So
But
many.
yeah. So the second thing I did was, the other thing that she got me was the collector's edition of Final Fantasy Type 0. And she loves Final Fantasy games, but she hates playing them.
She likes watching them?
So, yeah, exactly. So she, if they're voiced, she will sit in the room and just absorb me playing them and really enjoy it. Like, she loved Final Fantasy X, but she wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. So she did not want to play it, but she wanted to sit there and watch the cutscenes and listen to the story and, enjoy the characters and that sort of thing. So she got me Type 0, basically, so that she could watch me play it.
Can we just go ahead and say right now and call Final Fantasy Type 0 Toe Ball number 3?
What?
Well, because it's just like Toe Ball number 1, where nobody's going to remember that game 5 years from now because they all bought it to play the demo.
Oh!
Because that's why I bought Toe Ball number 1. Not to say that it's not a great game.
Also, Brave Fencer Musashi.
Yeah, and Zone of the
is a
Enders,
really good game.
and Dragon Quest VIII.
I love Brave Fencer Musashi, by the way. I really liked that game.
It was cute.
I thought, so here's the thing, like, it was the first time that I kind of understood that this game has a lot of humor in it that is getting not translated very well, and then once you kind of saw through the shoddy translation, it became really funny and really silly. So, at least that's how I felt about it.
I just remember like not being super impressed with the gameplay, but I thought it was fine. That was a time when Square was doing like a lot of really awesome experimental stuff, and not all of it hit for me. But I appreciated that they were doing all that stuff, and I wish that they would take a look back at that and maybe say like, hey, let's make new stuff and see what happens.
You tracked enemies you tracked these critters by their poop. Remember that?
No.
Yeah, there were critters, they were like unlockable, like you had to catch a bunch of these things, and you would find them because they would poop. And you would find the poop and come back at night and find the critter and catch it.
Well, that's all well and good, but this is discussion best left for our PlayStation 1 special later on in the year.
Yeah.
But
so Type 0, the collector's edition is awesome. It's got like a 150-page manga in it. It's got a nice hardcover art book. It has a soundtrack. It has a gorgeous steel case. It has 5 of the cards that a character that I don't know yet uses, Ace. So it's got his summon cards, I guess they are.
That disc has literally not been in my PS4. I'm telling you, it was a way for me to play Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, well, it's not going to just be that for me. I definitely, I put it in to do the mandatory install, and then I took it out. I don't want that to be. I want to play the demo first because I want to experience the demo, and I want to know what Final Fantasy 15 is all about. I also want to see what this thing can do. You know what I mean? And I know a PSP port is not really going to be, here's the bleeding edge of what this technology is capable of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard it looks kind of like rubbish in certain spots, but I fully intend to play it. It's just it's not on the docket right now.
Yeah, don't go there for a showcase. I could tell that just by booting it up and watching the intro cutscene. That even the cutscenes are nice, but they're like, oh yeah, this was clearly ported from a lower res system.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what my awesome wife did, and she got me the bundle that came with The Last of Us HD. So, I'm set, man. That was definitely. I was really stoked about playing that game on PS3.
Yeah, you're finally gonna get to play it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I was really looking forward to that, and now I can play it. So, that's great. And I was gonna get the PS3 version, and then I heard it was coming out with all the DLC on PS4. So I was thinking, well, why not wait? And that ended up being a really good move. But to back up for a minute from all that awesome stuff, I finished Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And I love that game. And And it occurred to me while I was playing it, especially when I was playing one level in particular, that Nintendo has like kind of cornered the market on platformers. Like they have the best Japanese platformer on the market with the Mario games. Like that's the Japanese, and then they have the best Euro style platformers with Tropical Freeze. Tropical Freeze has some there's one level in particular it's an underwater level where you have to get a bunch of keys and unlock doors. It's a hidden level that you have to find. That's really Euro platformer styled. And I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. They still have this, which is weird because it's not rare. Who developed this?
Retro,
right? But obviously they're taking.
Give Texas their props.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Like they kind of paid tribute there a little bit. Like they put a Euro style, like a really Euro style game, or Euro platformer style game in there. Level, I can't talk.
You're drunk on video games.
It was just on this list I read of like 20 of the hardest games that are actually still fun, and they said like, who would have thought that Donkey Kong would actually be the hardest platformer out there? And like I've played the other Donkey Kongs, some of them are pretty tough, and I'm hearing from like some other people who have played this one that like it's just so tough that they stopped playing it. But I know how good you are, and it must have been a fun challenge for you to beat.
I 100%ed it, and I freaking loved it. It was gorgeous. By the time I was done with the first world, I had my lives pinned at 99. But the game isn't about your life stock. Like if you're decent at these games, you won't have to go farm lives, but you will be pushed. And when you get to some of the super secret hard levels, so the way it works is on each world, if you get all the Kong letters in every level, you then go to a super hard, like almost ROM hack difficult bonus level. And if you beat all those bonus levels, you can go to a secret world which has 3 more additional really, really, really hard levels. And those were a lot of fun. So I don't think my lives ever dropped below 40-something. But, yeah, there were some times where that thing really pushed me. And it was weird because I don't think the unlockable levels were very well. There was no difficulty curve to them. I think they almost expected you to beat the game and go back and then get all the Kong letters and then do all that. But I just did it all in one push. Once I beat a level, if I missed a letter, I would go back and get it. And I noticed that some of them I would beat in a short amount of time, and maybe like by the time I was done, I'd be like in the 80s with my life stock. And then there was others where it was just like enemy jumps through the whole level, like bouncing off enemies' heads and crazy stuff like that with lava chasing you. And I would have like 40 something when I was done. So it was a little bit all over the place, but it was really fun.
Yeah, I won't talk about it much, but I will say that Rogue Legacy has kind of reignited my platforming skills, and it feels really good. Like don't have a way to post them anywhere else, but I did some PS4 shares to my Facebook when I finally beat the third boss, which had taken me forever. And I gotta say, like, I go back and look at the video, I'm like, that's some pretty impressive, like, navigation there. There was one failed attempt where I almost beat him, but, like, just watching the stuff that I did with the different runes that I had for mobility that Patrick doesn't use, I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. And there was this one that I posted where I just ran to this random room with these really tough enemies that were throwing, like, obstacles left and right, didn't even take a hit. And I was like, yeah.
Nice.
I'm actually on the last boss of Rogue Legacy at this point. I don't know if that's doable for me unless I grind a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I feel that his patterns are easy enough. It's more of just a matter of outlasting him. But we'll see. I might be done with that game. I might finish it, but I feel accomplished that I got that far, because when I first started playing it, I was like, there's no way that I'm even beating this first boss.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Tropical Freeze is when you finally beat it, it says, you've unlocked hard mode, and I literally laughed out loud. Because I was like, what have I been playing this whole time if this isn't hard mode? What is this? But yeah, what they do is once you beat Tropical Freeze, they say, okay, now instead of taking 2 hits per level, you can only take 1, and you can't use any of the other characters. You have to pick one character at the beginning. You can pick from all 4 of them. You can pick from one character at the beginning of the level, and that's who you have to play the whole level as, and you can't get hit a single time.
And that's when Angelo Grant said adios to Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
I did, but at the same time, like, I kept looking at it like, I kind of want to do this. And I sat on that screen for a good minute, and then I was like, nah, I've got too many other things, and that would be... It was mostly the amount of time it would take me. I was like, I've got so many other games I could be playing rather than playing this one again, so I'm going to play something else. But I was thinking about the whole time, I was like, man, I wish the Wii U had some sort of a streaming thing, because I would love to stream this game out. Or do something where, I could show off a little bit. Because it is a really fun game, and you really feel like you've accomplished something when you're done with it. It's solid, it's tight. The controls feel a little loose when you first start playing. That's something that I talked with Nick, the guy who runs Pixelbit, a little bit about it, and he said he tried playing it and he didn't like it at all because everything felt too squishy. And in my mind, when I first picked up the game, it took me a while to get used to the physics, because it almost feels like there's a lag in there a little bit. But I almost think that's intentional, because it makes you commit to whatever you're doing, and then you have to see it through. It's not quite like Dark Souls level of that, where you have to complete an entire animation, but like you press a button, and there's a little bit of hesitation before he executes the move. So if you're not doing that when you're supposed to be doing that, it's not going to work. And that's just, it's slight, but it's enough to throw people that are used to like instant responses off. So I think that's kind of, that's a neat thing that game has, that people are going to love it or they're going to hate it, and I liked it. So what else? I have a lot of stuff that I've been up to. I'm actually going to hold some of it for next week. But I took my wife out to see a movie. We went to see Disney's Cinderella. Have you guys heard of this?
I saw it opening night. It was really good.
Oh my gosh, dude. I went there, I'm not going to say begrudgingly, because I love my wife and I wanted to go have a nice date night, and I knew she would like this movie. So it was like, yeah, let's do that. So we did it, and I'm sitting there thinking, I am not going to enjoy this movie. And holy crap, Cate Blanchett is... I'm not that big into movies, and I'm not that big into actresses, but I pay attention to her every time she shows up, because she always blows everyone away. Lord of the Rings, what else did I see her in recently? I can't think of it, but in this one, she's the evil stepmom.
I think she's like definitely the best actress and maybe actor in general of like our whole generation. She has like such a wide breadth of ability. She can play anyone from a Renaissance queen to a downtrodden upper class like stuck up girl. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the way she can take over a scene without pushing the other actors out of it. Her acting is it's always at just the right level. Like, she doesn't overact, but at the same time, she can really just absolutely just exude character everywhere. Once she showed up, it was like, wow, all of you guys just got put in your place. I mean, every other actor and actress in that movie, no matter how good they were, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm mentioning Hook again. But it was like when Dustin Hoffman came out on his Hook after you've watched Robin Williams and you watch all these other actors and actresses in that movie, and you're like, oh yeah, here's somebody that really knows what they're doing. Like, not that Robin Williams isn't amazing, but Robin Williams is Robin Williams. So he's that person all the time. And then you've got someone like Dustin Hoffman who's just like, oh, I can be whoever I want to be, and right now I'm going to be Captain Hook, and I'm going to be a really good Captain Hook. So he's pretty much the only redeeming thing about that movie, in my opinion. But anyway.
Well, have you played the Super Nintendo game?
I have not.
Oh,
is it really good?
It is incredible.
I'll have to remember that. The pinball table's also pretty decent too. I don't know if you remember seeing that. That's kind of everywhere. It's a little bit, I don't know. It's a little bit campy, also like the movie, but it's fun and it's easy to shoot. My gosh, I can't believe I'm talking about pinball.
I can.
It's easy to shoot that main feature ramp on that. They actually built that. I don't know if you guys knew this, but have you? I think you played that table, right, Julian?
I'm pretty sure that I have. I feel that I have.
So there's I forget what it's called, a wind coaster on there, where it's a ramp that you shoot and it wraps around and then drops it off on the right side of the table. That was originally designed to be a carnival theme with a roller coaster on it. And when they got the Hook license, the guy thought, I have this idea that I've been brewing. I'm just going to make it into this. And there, you can see it with a couple of features on the table. It's kind of neat. But it works really well with the Hook theme, too. So that's that. I'm digressing.
Before you get back to what you're talking about, my really good story about pinball machines was over the last couple weeks when I got to play one that was opened up. I got like this cool photo of the undercarriage of like the pinball table. I don't know what you call it, but like all the wires and everything. The guy had to take it out at this place we were at, Emporium, and it was awesome because he didn't put the glass back on, and I got to throw the actual ball of the pinball wherever I wanted on the Shadow, the fun pinball game, the Shadow, and I had the gun going, all these different like things that would only happen to me on like Zen Pinball or like some digital game where I don't feel cheated all the time. Like everything was happening, and I set it was like 515 million point score or something.
Nice.
Like that.
Yeah, I haven't played the Shadow, but I heard it's really hard. So
it has a bunch of trick shots.
That's the one that has that kind of breakout, like the breakout video game, like Arkanoid in the upper left. It has that little mini table. That's the Shadow,
it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a lot of fun. I've never actually seen one, but I would definitely play one if I saw it.
Yeah, you get tons of points for getting it up there too, and it reminds me of a few different Zen pinball tables in that aspect. Like when you get up there, like trying to hit all the bumpers down, it's just like Pasha in Zen pinball, except like in Zen pinball, the robbers are basically what the back bumpers look like, and they're moving.
Yeah.
So
nice. Yeah, that reminded me a little bit of Swords of Fury, which is like one of my favorite tables. But the Swords of Fury has the same thing, but it has one single flipper in there, and you have to keep it in that little section before it drains, and you can get down all those. If you get down all those drop targets. Oh my gosh, I forgot what that does, but it does something awesome. I think it's how you start a multi-ball or something. No, there is no multi-ball on that table. Crap, my brain just died. I forgot how to play Swords of Fury. But I know that's a big feature on the table too. Is it has a bank of drop targets and a mini play field with a single flipper that you have to. Actually, a lot of tables do that. But anyway.
So
Cinderella, Cate Blanchett, awesome. Yeah, way better movie than I was expecting. Wouldn't go to see it on myself. Probably wouldn't rent it by myself. But at the same time, real solid. Special effects, it's Disney. They're through the roof. Who was the actress that played the? She was really good too.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Godmother.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Was that the fairy godmother?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was good too. She was really good.
It was very strange to see her not with Johnny Depp in a movie.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then the only person who I feel like, and I hate to say this because she's obviously young and she's inexperienced, but the girl who played Cinderella, her acting ability, I don't think is what they got her on there for so much as how she fit the role visually. Like she looked like a farm girl, like a pretty farm girl from the country, that kind of thing. So.
I thought she was fine, but I ended up coming away.
Fine.
I ended up coming away more impressed with the stepsisters. I thought they were really good. They were really funny.
They had great chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
They absolutely. You could tell you could tell they spent a lot of time with each other even off the set. Like they had to have, because the way they read each other and reacted was on point. But yeah, the problem is when you put somebody like her sharing the screen with Cate Blanchett maybe 50% of the time, it doesn't end up so well for the new one, unfortunately. But that's just, that's That's how it is. I'm sure she'll get another role. I mean, she did fine, like you said. I'm sure she'll be around. So that was neat. What else do I have here? So, recently my office, we moved where we work. This is how long it's been since I've talked to you guys. I've been there for like almost a month now, or over a month now. And somebody was nice enough to show me that right down the back stairs of our office building and across the street, like within 3 minutes of my desk, is both a tabletop gaming shop and a retro game store. And my wallet has been crying ever since. I have picked up, oh my gosh, I'm looking at this, like a card game, 2 board games, an expansion for a board game, and 2 video games. I finally picked up Thief, but I didn't know I was getting a PS4. And actually, everybody was telling me that the previous gen versions behave better.
Huh.
Is that what I heard from someone? That they load faster. They don't look as good, but they load faster, and the frame rate's better and stuff like that, which is a little weird. So I got the 360 version of Thief. And they actually had the steel case one there, so I picked that up because why not? I'm pretty sure the DLC's already been claimed and all that stuff, but who cares? The steel case is nice, so I got that. And then I picked up a PlayStation 2 game called Maximo. Have you guys heard of this one?
Duh.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because everybody is telling me how awesome it is and that I need to play it. So I picked up Maximo, and I own that now.
Actually, especially with you touting your skills for the last like 15 minutes or so on Donkey Kong. You should go play some Maximo and see how you fare.
You think it's going to put me in my place?
I mean, it's a challenge for sure.
Well, it's like the spiritual successor to Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins, that sort of thing. So
yeah, and a very well done spiritual successor, I might add.
That game, that original one, was beyond me as a kid. I never played it as an adult. Maybe I should try it again.
No, you don't. You really
okay?
Don't.
Was that bad?
I mean, it's just relentless.
Oh, it's a quarter stealer.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games that I talked about when we were talking about like what I feel is a fallacy when people say Nintendo hard, because it wasn't that they were programmed that way. It's because they didn't know how to make games at the time.
Yeah.
And I really feel that Ghosts and Goblins is one of those games where it's like this is just dumb in how difficult it is. Like there's not even any rhyme or reason to it. It's just no.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember as a kid seeing it in the arcades and going, I need to play this because it was bright, it was colorful, it was dark. Wait, that was both. Does that make sense?
Yeah, vibrant colors, but it was a dark theme.
Right. So it had that little mature aspect to it. Like when your character died, he exploded into a pile of bones. Oh, how edgy! In the 80s, that was edgy. And the graphics were really good. Everything animated nice and smooth. And so I ended up playing it, and I don't think I got past the first board. That thing was just insanely hard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And then I remember I think I rented the port on the NES. Must have been. Was it NES? Yes. Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's on NES.
I think it's on Super Nintendo, too. No, that's Ghouls and Ghosts. No, that's Ghosts and Goblins. Oh, crap.
It's Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
There you go.
Yeah. Ghosts and Goblins was the original, and then it was Ghouls and Ghosts after that.
I always get confused.
Wait.
Yeah,
wait,
exactly.
No. Genesis is Ghouls and Ghosts, and then on Super Nintendo it's Super Ghosts and Goblins. That's where the confusion lies.
Okay. They're different games, though.
Yes.
So,
the Super Nintendo one is better because it's Super Nintendo.
Absolutely. So,
come on.
So then for tabletop stuff, I picked up this little card game that I'd heard about called Sushi Go. I don't know if you guys have heard about that at all. Probably not. It's a deck building / scoring game. So basically what you want to do is you want to have a sort of strategy where everybody starts with like a certain amount of cards in their hand, but they can only take one card out of it and put it in front of them, and they pass their hand on to the next person. And just the object of the game is to get the highest scoring group of cards in front of you by the end of the game. And it's not just like, oh, this card's worth 5 points and this card's worth 6 points. It's like, well, you have to get 3 of this kind of card or it's worth nothing. But if you get 3, it's worth 10. And this card isn't, you can't score this one until you've played 3 rounds. And this one is worth 3, but if you play this card underneath it, it's worth 3 times 3. So that's 9, you know. So it's neat, and people can kind of see the strategies you're doing, so they can try to steal the cards so that you don't get them. Pretty fun game. We have tried to play it once, and we did. The kids didn't quite get it, so we're gonna definitely play that one again. But that's just something that you can pick out and play in like 10 minutes for like a quick game, and that's really fun. It's also a good introduction to other more complicated games that involve like deck building and things like that. So that was one of the reasons I picked that up. So the other game I picked up was a game called Relic. Are you guys familiar with Talisman at all?
No.
No.
Just from what you've said before a little bit.
Okay. So I did mention this before?
Just, I think Talisman. But...
Okay. So, Relic is basically the Warhammer 40,000 or 40K version of Talisman. And I'm very familiar with Warhammer 40K. A bunch of my friends used to play it. So I know like the races and the chapters and the Space Marines and this, that, and the other thing. I could not stand the tabletop game. I am sorry for anybody who listens that likes it, but anytime a tape measure has to be brought out in order to play a tabletop game, you've lost me. You know, a little bit too much. Plus, I couldn't paint characters for crap. And, yeah, so I was not having that. But this is essentially Talisman in, you know, the Warhammer 40K universe. So I bought this, brought it home, and you know how you got to do. You take the thing out, you punch all the little pieces out, you sort everything, you get it all organized. My wife was walking around, and she goes, oh, what's that? So I explained to her how it worked, and, you know, I was explaining a little bit of the 40K universe, and as I'm going through it, I was expecting to look up and have her checked out completely. And instead I found that she had sat down and was listening to every word that came out of my mouth. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I went on a little further about, you know, like Warhammer 40K, and I mean, it's a super dark universe type thing. So I think that was just different from the type of fantasy worlds that she had heard about in the past, so it was very interesting. And she really wanted to play it. So, like, cool. And as I'm going over the rules, so Relic is a super complicated version of Talisman. And I had bought it with the intention of, you know, okay, let's just play this. But once I got it and got the rules and fooled around with it a little bit on my own, I realized it was a little bit much. So I went back and I bought Talisman. And then I was able to pitch that to everybody as, hey, this is a combination of, and this is a pretty good explanation of it too. It's basically a combination of Monopoly, and I told them Dragon Quest, but it's more like Final Fantasy II, if Final Fantasy II wasn't broken. And by that I mean, like, when you beat enemies that test your skill, you get, or your strength skill, you get more skill. When you beat enemies that test against your magic skill, in this game it's called craft, you get more craft, and you level up those stats individually. You don't level up as a whole. So we bought that, and it's very much like kind of a really easy board game-ish RPG where you roll the die, you move around. There's 3 levels to the playing field. The outer level's for grinding. The inner level is for hunting a talisman, which is what you need to get to the inner level, and that inner level is where you have to go through a series of tests, and then you get to the end point of the game and you win. It's not quite that simple, but, you know, as you go around, there's a huge deck of cards that you pull them. You know, when you land on a space, it'll say draw 1 encounter card, or draw 2 encounter cards, or draw 3, and you pull 3 cards off the deck, and that's what happens. And it might be you run into a ghost, or you run into a bandit, or you found a helmet lying on the ground and now you have a new helmet, or you found some gold, you know, that kind of thing. So it's a pretty neat game. Relic is way more complicated than that, because instead of just having 2 stat attributes, you have 3, and on top of that you have a leveling mechanic, like a true leveling mechanic. So your character is level 1, level 2, level 3. So we're not ready for Relic yet. Despite that, I already bought the expansion for Relic.
Because you have a sickness.
Because I have a sickness. I have a disease, and the only cure is more Relic. So what that adds on top of the regular game, which is similar in spirit to Talisman, it still has the 3 layers to the board, and you still want to get to the middle and whatever's in there. This one is called Nemesis, and what it adds is actual Nemesis. So one character can play the role of a Nemesis, and their job is to hunt down the other players. And they score infamy points, and if their infamy counter reaches the maximum level, they win the game and the good guys lose. That's the simple explanation for it. So it introduces that element to the game. We're not there yet, like I said, but I think it's going to be a little while before we are. I'm already eyeballing the next expansion for Relic because I really have a problem, which adds a sub-board to it, which allows you to explore the world of Terra, which is basically Earth in the Warhammer 40k universe. By the way, I also discovered some really good lore videos on YouTube for 40k. There's this guy who is doing a series of videos called The Vaults of Terra. If you just search for that on YouTube, you'll find it. Anything you wanted to know about Warhammer 40k, you can find out there. Even some things you don't want to know. So, like I said, the world is really dark.
That was weird, but whatever, there is no time to lose. I got a wolf right now to Zelda in this chilled out groove. Wait, this isn't Cannon's Lair, I'm in Liberty City. This place looks just like Philadelphia, but even more shit. I'm at the corner of Dead Cotton, Prostitute Junction. Something in my ocarina must have gone and malfunctioned. I gotta fix it quickly, there is justice to do.
Hold on a minute, Link.
Oh man, is that you?
This is a place you can't survive with just a sword in your wrist. It's dangerous to go alone, take this.
Well, that's really kinda duh, that's your wrinkle dick again. Look, I know I'm wearing tunic, but I'm not into men.
Don't be that way, bitch. Let me introduce you to my 3 best friends, Mr. Johnson and the Juice Crew. If you see the princess Zelda, well, you know you're gonna grab her. So why don't you try to come around? I am the little
Oh my god!
Well, before we move on into our topic, I would just like to circumvent things and say that I got you watching something on YouTube that you thought you would never watch on YouTube.
I was going to go there next. That was my next thing. So I've been out of watching wrestling since Hulk Hogan got thrown into a coffin by The Undertaker. I think that was the last thing I saw in WWF. And it wasn't that necessarily broke it for me, but it was just, I don't know.
You got older.
I got older.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it started seeming a little hokey, a little cheesy. And I don't want to say I outgrew it because I can see the fun in it, but it just wasn't for me. And I had plenty of other stuff I was into, like video games and more video games. So, but I wanted to look up Inspire Pro because you really made it sound good, and holy crap, was it good. So it's still clearly, it's still a show. I don't want to say it's fake because I hate hearing that, because now that I've seen what these people actually do to each other, there's very real aspects to it.
It's like, I think
it's staged.
It's performance art.
Yeah, like, exactly.
It's improv combat that, at least for me, like an Inspire Pro show is so much more impactful than what you see on TV, because I guess they're playing to a much closer audience, and they're cognizant of that fact. Okay,
so what I think is going on is a lot of it, I would say about 75% of the match has to be rehearsed beforehand, because when that guy runs to the opposite of the end of the ring, bounces off the ropes, and comes at you, you need to know what he's doing, or you are going to get hurt. You know what I mean? So, like, a lot of that has to be worked out beforehand. Like, okay, at this point, I'm going to jump in the air and do a double kick to your chest. And I think even the announcers know, because they kind of start seeding what they expect them to do next, a few moves ahead. Like, okay, I think he's working up to doing this move now.
From what I can tell and from what I know and what I've seen, I think it varies by like match to match.
Mhm.
I think typically, especially with like indie stuff, they might discuss really quickly like a couple big spots before the match. Like they'll say, okay, when I go do this, it's your cue to do this, and it's going to be like a really big move. But a lot of it is actually just worked out either through like very subtle communication in the ring, either by like vocal or like signs, or there's just certain things where it's like there are certain sequences that if you watch enough wrestling, it's like, okay, like you kind of know where this is going to go. And I think once they get into that sequence, like the other guy just knows, okay, since I'm the one who sprung off the ropes, that means I do this, this, and this, and he's going to do this, this, and that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's more of just like a language that they learn. And even if they don't all speak English, they just know, how the pieces fit together. And the thing that makes a really good wrestler is someone that's able to put those things together in a way that's exciting and interesting and doesn't, or it keeps you guessing as to, how much of it is real and how much of it is scripted.
Right. Well, the other reason I say that I think a lot of that really high-flying action is known, not, like they have some way of communicating what they're going to do, is because either that guy's going to run forward and the other guy's going to step into him and clothesline him, or he's going to jump and kick, or the other guy's going to jump and kick into him and he's going to like get hit when he's coming off the ropes. You know what I mean? Like it's like they have to have some way of working that out, because I've never seen two people. If somebody's coming off the ropes and the other guy goes to kick him, if he doesn't know he's going to get kicked, he could take it in the teeth.
Oh, I've seen it
easily.
Happen. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've seen people get their heads taken clean off.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, there's got to be, like you're saying, there's some communication either before or during, so they know exactly what's going on. But it's, and there's varying levels of, how do I want to say this? Certain people are more convincing than others.
Oh, sure, yeah.
There was one guy that they were talking about, oh, he's got such a great history, oh, he's got this, oh, he's got that, and every punch he threw just looked so bad. Like, just his punches. I was like, man, if you can't throw a good punch, I don't know what you're doing. Like, that's probably one of the first things you really need to nail down, because that has to look good.
Well, or you can be John Cena and just never get it right and be, like, the biggest name for 10 years straight. Because he throws terrible punches, too.
That's true. And they were talking this guy up like he was a big deal, so it must be something else he has going for him, because that wasn't it. But, man, I mean, just first of all, the level of athleticism that they brought was pretty friggin' impressive. Like, just the stuff they were doing. The first match started, and I think my jaw hit the floor maybe about 20 seconds in, and I was like, wow, these guys are really good.
Yeah.
What did they do?
Just the way the match was and how solid everything felt and how convincing it was. It's just like it really felt like a good, hard, we're beating the crap out of each other match. I mean, I wasn't. There was a few times where I just ended up leaning back and going, oh my gosh, wow, okay, like that kind of thing. It just looked like they were really, really working each other. And then the other thing was halfway through, they put on a good show as well, like as far as talking and things. About halfway through, when things were starting to die down, they had this one character come up who, oh, hey, welcome back to the group. You haven't been here for a while. Yeah, I was injured, this, that, and the other thing. And it just seemed like a sort of thing that you could dismiss as just sort of a, oh, we're all happy you're back, this, that, or the other thing. We give him a few minutes in the ring to talk. Guy seemed really super nice, super friendly. He was built like a monster truck. He was twice as big as the biggest guy they had there all night. Talk about recovering from his injury, talking about how he's ready to get back into things. And then he was gone. And, I didn't think anything of that. It was just like a nice little, oh, that's cool. Here's this guy that they're bringing back, and they're just trying to welcome him back in and this, that. So the match goes on, and there's kind of a weird reverse bell curve thing that happens where not necessarily the quality, but just the overall intensity of things sort of dips in the middle, where they're having, like, more silly stuff happen. There was a match where somebody literally yelled Falcon Kick while he kicked somebody over the ropes, which was awesome. But it was also the highlight of that match because the whole match was a little bit cheesy. But it was fun. It was still fun. And he was right in the middle of all that. Then come to find out that the headline match comes up, and these guys just are wailing on each other. It was started off as a 3-way thing, and there was some bit of drama that happened in the middle of it that I'm not too familiar with. There's apparently some history with some characters, and one of the guys got kicked out, and it was a big deal of some sort. Everybody hated him, and they were glad he got eliminated early. And then this, the character I say, the man who won, earned it. He worked really hard, did that thing, got up there, and then this big hulk of a guy who just came off this really humble, really nice dude, goes in there and beats the crap out of him. Slams him all over the canvas, just throws him off things, just beats the sound out of him, takes the belt from him and goes, "This is rightfully mine." He just like turns heel like that. And I'm like, I need to watch more of this because this is really good.
I just got a big grin from ear to ear listening to you say that.
It was fun. The
great thing about Inspire Pro, too, is that they do a really fantastic job of establishing who the characters are, instantly. Pretty much right off the bat, this guy's a face, this guy's a heel.
Yep.
Their motivations. They do a great job of telling their story in the ring, through the match itself. So they don't just waste a lot of time with cutting promos and stuff like that, but when they do, it's usually pretty impactful. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, we actually just went to my third Inspire Pro show about a week ago, Phenomenon, and I took a lady to that one, and she had a blast. Nice. Fantastic show, pretty much from beginning to end. But I gotta say, as it being my third show now, watching the storyline develop between the centerfold Matthew Palmer and dirty Andy Dalton, who gets his name because he's really disgusting in the ring.
I saw a match with him.
Okay, yeah, he licks his own boots.
Yep.
He swallows his own spit.
Yep. He wipes his hand on people and stuff. It's gross.
Yeah, he's disgusting. He's the champion, and they have had this simmering war. I think it had begun even before my first show, but just the way that I got to see it build and build and build until finally this night it was a championship match. It was a street fight, no disqualification thing. Mm-hmm. And if Matthew Palmer won, he became the champion, but if he lost, he had to leave Inspire Pro Wrestling.
Ooh.
And it was a knockdown, drag-out war. And, I mean, if you look on, John Golson's, Twitter or his Vine, you can go back and look at some of the stuff that he filmed from that match. It's incredible. The action just gets right up in your face. And, I saw... they had this part where they set up a ladder, they draped it over the corner turnbuckle, kind of horizontally, and then used that to do a pile driver onto the ladder, onto the mat.
Oh,
I've never seen anything like it in my life. It was unbelievable. And unfortunately, Matthew Palmer lost, which means that, it's wrestling, so it's not that he's going to be gone forever, but I imagine he won't be back at Inspire Pro for a very long time, and that makes me sad because he had been far and away my favorite wrestler, at every show. And I'm wearing a shirt right now of his that says, "Arrive, steal show, leave." And that's what he does. And it's amazing because I would see, even the first time I saw him, I was like, this guy is WWE quality. Straight up, this guy could main event, WWE shows and stuff like that easily.
Yeah.
And then John drops this knowledge bomb on me recently that says, oh yeah, by the way, Matthew Palmer's been wrestling for 7 months. And I was like, what? I guess some people are just born with the gift. Because he wrestles like a man who's been doing it for 15 years. And just highly entertaining. And I bought his shirt actually at the intermission, so it was before he lost the match. And I'm so glad that I bought it because I won't have a chance to buy one for a while. And just top to bottom, amazing show. That main event was incredible. And I have to wait until the end of May for the next Inspire Pro show because they apparently they had some booking problems with the venue for April. So that's a really agonizing wait because it has become my favorite day of the month is Inspire Pro night. So Yeah,
Nice.
just great stuff, and I'm really glad that you had fun watching it on YouTube. I'm actually going to buy the DVD of the Phenomenon event just because there were a couple matches that I just need to see over and over again.
Just so you know, I am watching it from their channel. It's not like some bootleg thing that some guy, you know.
Yeah, they post a lot of the stuff, and it's funny because John Golston and I, we've been kicking around this idea of approaching them with doing like a podcast for Inspire Pro, like maybe do it like twice a month where we get like right after the show interviews and stuff with the talent, and then maybe another one leading into the next event, because you know we really want to see them grow, and there's not enough developing of the storylines outside of the show for obvious reasons. You know, these guys are traveling all over the state and the country in some cases, but it'd be really cool to be able to get them to, you'd be able to showcase them a little bit more, you know, even outside of the Inspire Pro shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, just great stuff.
Do half the villainous characters still look like Marilyn Manson?
I haven't seen anybody like that.
Okay, because that was a thing when I was watching it, but I guess their leader was the one that got eliminated in that 3-way match. He was part of that was, hey, if you get eliminated, if this particular thing happens, basically if somebody shows up who isn't supposed to be here, you lose the match and you cannot wrestle in this league again. And that's what happened. So
okay, yeah. No, there's been a couple guys where I'm like, oh, you know what, this is like my bathroom break time. Like when he comes out, I'm like, you know what, I don't really, I don't leave, but I'm like, I'm not really going to pay attention. That's when I'll start tweeting, you know, like the pictures from the previous match or something like that. But for the most part, I have enjoyed pretty much everybody that I've seen come to that ring. So
yeah,
very happy to hear that.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, I think that probably does it for Consumption Junction. Holy crap.
Yeah, I told you I had a lot.
Yeah. Well, you'd also missed an episode, so.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll move into our topic, which is April Fool's gags in video games, and the actual April Fool's gag is that there is no topic. Fished in. Yeah, we're just gonna cut it here, guys, and hopefully you enjoyed that Wayne's World reference. Thank you as always for listening. You can find us on the Twitter. Patrick.
At some boss.
Angelo.
I'm at a roguish ham.
And you can find me at Julian_Titus. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We will see you next time. Until then, keep it pantsless, internet. Goodbye.
I got a warp out of here, Princess Zelda awaits. I must defeat Ganondorf before it gets too late. Okay, now I really don't know where I am.
Hold on a minute, Link.
God damn it, old man!
You're in Raccoon City. It's a zombie abyss. It's dangerous to go alone, team.
No! Fuck you! Fuck you! I'm not giving you up. Not touching your Stop the chilled out groove! Jeez! You come in here telling me you got a wee weapon. It's not cool. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna. No!
So is that a no on the hand job, or... Okay.